Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. In our top story, the voters of the St. Thomas-St. John District will determine who will complete the legislative branch of government this weekend. The 15th seat of the 32nd legislature will be filled by one of the special election candidates vying for a seat to represent the people of the Virgin Islands. News 2's reporter Stephanie Brown has more.
The members of the 32nd legislature took their oaths and were sworn into office on January 9th of 2017. However, the 32nd legislature is still considered an incomplete legislative body. On November 8th, candidate Kevin A. Rodriguez ran 6th place in the 2016 senatorial race in the St. Thomas-St. John district. In lieu of lawsuits and appeals, Kevin Rodriguez was deemed ineligible to take office because of residency factors.
The suit filed in the district court suing me and the members of the 32nd legislature for not seating him as a member was also disposed of, and in essence the legislature won its case.
The special elections moved forward even after Rodriguez filed for an injunction to halt the electoral process. But in 5 days, the 2017 special elections will occur. Officially, some election privileges weren't available.
Again, we did put out a press release last week stating as per legal counsel, we decided to do it under limited time constraints. Because we didn't have the number of days as per required with a special election.
However, the Electoral Board gave voters a short time span to exercise their rights.
So based on legal advice, we did it for 3 days in the St. Thomas-St. John district, which was March 29th, 30th, and April 1st. And in St. John, we did it for the 29th and the 30th of March. Our total number of voters that voted in the two districts was 1,408.
This Saturday, voters in the St. Thomas-St. John district will cast their votes. For News 2, I'm Stephanie Shalana Brown.
Carolyn Fox also informed that absentee voting will be available to voters from the St. Thomas-St. John district who may be on St. Thomas at the time of the special elections on Saturday. Well, as we shared, Prime Minister of Denmark, Lars Løkke Rasmussen, met on Saturday with students at UVI St. Thomas to announce a new scholarship that will provide the opportunity for Virgin Islanders to study in Denmark. The news of the country's government giving about $716,000 to fund the scholarship, this program from 2018 to 2022, is historic news for UVI as well as the VI, proving that interaction between Denmark and the VI will benefit all. Up to about 10 students from UVI will be able to spend a semester studying at a Danish university with living costs and tuition fees covered. The scholarship program is slated to begin accepting students in 2018. Be sure to tune in to News 2 on Tuesday. We will hear from the Prime Minister as well as the President of UVI, Dr. David Hall. On Saturday, April 1st, the centennial public reception was held at Frenchman's Reef, St. Thomas. Members of the Civil Air Patrol, many dignitaries from Denmark, including the Prime Minister and his wife, were in attendance. Many enjoyed the opportunity to dance, meet, and mingle. Then over in St. Croix, the Centennial Gala Ball was held at the St. Croix Carambola Beach Resort and Spa. In attendance were members of the Virgin Islands Transfer Centennial Commission, Consul General of Denmark, and Dorte Riggleson, and Soren Black, who's the Consul General of Denmark St. Thomas. They addressed the crowd. Many were decked out in their finest as they enjoyed the ambience. Well, Governor Kenneth Mapp is meeting with airline executives this week in an effort to further increase flights into the territory, particularly St. Croix. During the governor's State of the Territory address in January, the governor said that one of the VI Department of Tourism's goals for this year was to continue to increase the number of nonstop flights to the Virgin Islands from major cities such as Houston. And over the past year, service from that city as well as Boston and Washington, D.C. has been expanded. Lieutenant Governor Osbert Potter will serve as acting governor until the governor's return on April 7th. Turn our attention overseas. It's decision week for President Trump's pick for the Supreme Court, but the vote to confirm Judge Neil Gorsuch could change the Senate rules for good. As lawmakers wrestle with that, the president turns his focus overseas. To get the job, President Donald Trump's Supreme Court pick needs 60 yes votes. It's looking like an uphill battle. Democrats are lining up to try block a final vote on the Neil Gorsuch on the Senate floor set for Friday. Keeping our eye on the economy, let's take a look at the stock market watch at the New York Stock Exchange. According to the numbers there, we can see the Dow, NASDAQ, S&P all down. The Dow down 13, NASDAQ down 17, and S&P 500 down 3. Coming up on News 2, we have much more straight ahead, including news of the St. Thomas St. Croix Fast Ferry. That gets underway on Tuesday. Details coming up next. Welcome back. On March 31st, turning to some crime reports at 9:45 p.m., police received a call about a stabbing in Old Friedensburg, Christiansted. Officers discovered an injured man lying on the ground. The man was transported to the Louis Hospital and pronounced dead. Preliminary information revealed both men were feuding over a broken windshield. They got into a verbal altercation. One man had a beer bottle and the other had a knife. When a struggle ensued and the suspect stabbed the victim in the neck area and then fled the area. The suspect, 46-year-old Eduardo Garcia Jr., turned himself in. He was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. The deceased was identified as Jose Saez Rosario, age 55, of Old Friedensburg. On Friday, March 31st at 4:36, a 34-year-old Stephen Mata II was arrested and charged with rape first. At approximately 11:16 p.m., the police say 911 call center dispatched officers to Mata's home. When citizens in the neighborhood heard a female screaming for help and called 911, the victim stated that Mata sexually assaulted her, punched her, and slammed her to the ground. The suspect was located by patrol officers and he was immediately detained and arrested. Mata was processed and transported to the Golden Grove Detention Center pending his advice of rights hearing. Virgin Islands veterans had the opportunity to meet with newly confirmed U.S. Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke on Thursday. Zinke, a retired Navy SEAL and former Montana congressman, said he makes a point to reach out to veterans. During the meeting, organized by the VI Office of Veterans Affairs Director Patrick Farrell, Zinke updated St. Croix veterans on plans to upgrade military equipment and expand services for retired and active duty personnel. He pledged to work with Farrell to establish a veterans park on St. John and to help develop the infrastructure of the territories. The Department of the Interior is responsible for coordinating federal policy with the U.S. Virgin Islands. The secretary said he understood there was some disparities in the treatment of U.S. citizens living in the insular areas, but that he was committed to fairness and will follow up on that. Meanwhile, he was in the territory for the Transfer Day ceremonies, and be sure to tune in to News 2. We will have more from the ceremonies on St. Thomas, and we shared, of course, the ceremonies on St. Croix on Friday. Well, in celebration of National Public Health Week, the Virgin Islands Department of Health has scheduled a full week of events. These events will educate the community on various health issues and provide health tips so residents can make informed decisions regarding healthy habits. Well, today there was an open house at the Charles Harwood Complex in the lobby of the Roy Lester Schneider Hospital as well. For more information about Public Health Week activities, you can call 626-6290. Here's more.
Community to come down and check out the other displays and meet some of our staff that are willing and ready to serve you. So this week, as I said, today is the open house. And we're going to be in the community all week long for Public Health Week. We're going to be at Richmond Head Start. We're going to be at Juanita Guardian School. We're also going to be doing a training for individuals in the community tomorrow, and that's going to be here. So anyone is interested, come on down to Charles Harwood on St. Croix, room 1016 from 9 to 12 p.m. And then also on St. Thomas at the Human Services Video Conferencing Room from 9 to 12 tomorrow on St. Thomas.
Well, some good news. The final test was held on March 24th to ensure that the vessel was in compliance with the Coast Guard's safety standards. And now, The QE4's maiden voyage will begin tomorrow, Tuesday, April 4th. Jeffrey Bisson is the vice president of Gold Coast Yachts, builder of the ferry boat. It was the plan of Warren Mosler. He was behind the scenes for cheaper travel options. Tickets will cost $50 one way. The QE4 will leave St. Croix at 7 a.m., taking a look at the schedule, and arrive in St. Thomas at 9 a.m., then leave St. Thomas at 9:30 a.m. and arrive in St. Croix at 11:30 a.m. Its second trip from St. Croix will leave at 1 p.m. and arrive in St. Thomas at 3 p.m., with the final trip of the day leaving St. Thomas at 3:30 p.m. and arriving in St. Croix at 5:30 p.m. The ferry will seat approximately 54 passengers inside. For tickets and info, you can log on to www.QE4ferry.com. Speaking of hopping over to St. Croix, St. Thomas, Taste of St. Croix is a culinary event coming up that displays not only restaurants, but the local farms that supply fresh produce and meats to the chefs and cooks taking part in the event. Today, the first event leading up to the Taste of St. Croix event on Thursday, that occurred at the Lorraine Farmers Market. Here's more.
We're in a predicament where we have 99.9% of our food are imported. And so the key to us getting away from that, at least cutting that down to a percentage, is the farm production development in the Virgin Islands. Agriculture needs to become a forefront of what's going on. With all the things that we have going on worldwide, the changes, the impact politically and otherwise that are going on worldwide throughout the world, we need to be able to feed ourselves to some percentage so that in case of anything, whether it be storm or natural or any other way forward, we're able to feed ourselves at some level.
Now, for 17 years, Taste of St. Croix has celebrated the special spirit and flavor of our island by pooling culinary artisans from more than 50 local chefs, restaurants, and farms. The event, which was the brainchild of 2 local restaurateurs, began as a way to showcase the diverse and delectable cuisine and culture of St. Croix, with its influences from all over the Caribbean and the world. Today, the Taste is known nationally and abroad as one of the finest food and wine events in the Caribbean. The event will occur on Thursday. And be sure to count on 2. We will share the schedule as soon as we get more information. Stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.
Let's take a look at what is happening in our forecast around the Virgin Islands. I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Julia Wyden, and can see a large storm system over the United States. That is not going to have too much of an impact in our area. Instead, we're dealing with a stalled front around the Caribbean that's increased the threat for some showers. That will mainly be off to our south. Looking at the current radar, you can make out a couple of spot showers in the region. That will be the case as we head through the later part of the afternoon and into the evening this time of year, but again, we're not going to see any major washouts. Forecast for tonight, 74 degrees, partly cloudy skies. Looking ahead to tomorrow in St. John, we'll be at 84 degrees. And again, shower in spots. Good to have the umbrella handy. Keep it with you if you plan on running out and about. Same in St. Thomas, 84 degrees, partly cloudy skies and the occasional shower. In St. Croix, we'll reach a high of 86 degrees. And we'll have that mix of sun and clouds with a round of showers or 2. All right, looking at our forecast for the wave heights, 3 to 6 feet in the Atlantic. The winds out of the east at 8 to 16 knots. As for the Caribbean side of things, very similar looking here, 3 to 5 feet. Winds out of the east up to 16 knots in height. And as we check out that extended forecast, you'll see that we have the threat for some showers on Tuesday and again on Wednesday. Into Thursday, plenty of sunshine. Will be partly sunny on Friday with a stray shower coming back on Saturday. Temperatures will be in the low to mid 80s all week long, and your overnight low temps will be in the mid 70s. Looks like a pretty decent week ahead of us, so hopefully you can go ahead and enjoy. Sandy?
Thanks for that. Time for our News 2 weather picture there by Kelly's St. Hall of Ricardo Richards Elementary School. It looks like Kelly's is excited about that ferry That's what it looks like, Khalees, and included some beautiful overall weather, typical VI weather there, calm seas. Thank you for that. Send your News 2 weather pictures to the address on the screen, and be sure to tune in and see it right here on News 2. Stick around, much more straight ahead. News 2 Sports comes your way next.
I'm Gary Anthony, and this is News 2 Sports. The men's college basketball season comes to a close tonight with the NCAA Tournament Championship game. It's the Gonzaga Bulldogs versus the North Carolina Tar Heels. Both teams, well, they were the #1 seeds in their bracket. Gonzaga, they got there with a 77-73 win over South Carolina on Saturday night. The Tar Heels, well, they punched their ticket with a thrilling 77-76 victory over Oregon. Now, the key in my mind to a Gonzaga victory is the big man mountain named Przemysław Karnowski. The guy is 300 pounds, he's a 7-footer, and he takes up a lot of space. Also, he's got a nice soft touch. For the Tar Heels, watch out for Kennedy Meeks. The 6'10" senior has grabbed 31 rebounds in the last 2 games, and he gives the Heels a big advantage on the glass. It's old versus new, and I like the Zags to win their first NCAA title. Why? I don't know why. I just do. And you can watch the game tonight on TV2 at 9 o'clock. Tip-off is at 9:20. Staying with college round ball, let's move on to the NCAA women's bracket, where we now have a new champion. Yes, that's right, UConn is no longer the champion. Now, fresh off their upset of UConn, the Minnesota State Bulldogs took on South Carolina and the Lady Gamecocks. Let's move it on to the fourth quarter. South Carolina is up by 4 when Aja Wilson knocks down the jumper. And later, Wilson with the block, and then the spin and the hoop. South Carolina wins their first ever NCAA championship in any sport, and they win this one 67-55. From the hardwood to the diamond, Major League Baseball officially opened yesterday, and Major League Baseball fans got to see a first. That's right. San Francisco Giants ace Madison Bumgarner hit 2 home runs in the first game of the season. That had never been done before. But you know what has been done? The Giants bullpen blew the lead. The Diamondbacks went on to come back and win. So much for a new season. That's it for sports. Don't forget to watch the game tonight. Go Zags. Sandy, back to you.
Thanks for that, Gary, and we know you will have some highlights tomorrow. That is all for this edition of News 2. We'd like to thank you for joining us for all the latest in news, weather, and sports. I'm Sandra the Man saying have a wonderful evening. We'll see you next time.